Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom. Pull up a chair and join us with today's guest.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. And sitting on my front porch with us today is Kristen. Kristen, where are you calling from today?
Rhode Island,
Rhode Island.
Jamestown. Yep.
Yeah, so you've probably been getting a little bit of that cold too, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's cold this year.
Yeah, it is. I'm here in Central Texas and we've had the ice. I mean, a lot of things froze. In fact, we had to redo some of our outside pipes because of it. But,
I'm not surprised. It's harder for people that aren't used to it all the time, you know?
oh yeah. But
Yeah.
we always get a couple of days of really cold. I think our pipes are just pretty old. It's just time they keep getting replaced every few months. One- by the end of summer, we should have the whole line done.
Oh wow. Okay. That's an accomplishment.
Hey, you need to go away. I'll start this over. Okay. Um, yeah. All right, so we're gonna start again.
That's fine.
Welcome to another great episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. Thank you for sitting on our porch today, and joining us is Kristen. Kristen, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself and why you do what you do.
Okay. I am the CEO of a company called Zhivago Partners, and my official title is B2B, as in business to business, revenue growth architect. I used to just call myself a revenue coach. I did sales and marketing turnarounds for decades,
Oh,
but we've
wow.
expanded out from that. I opened a digital agency in 2017 after years of doing the marketing turnarounds. And I opened it because I saw that mid-sized companies were established mid-sized companies were having trouble competing with their more digitally savvy customers.
Right.
And before that, I've been in tech and marketing for a very long time and stayed at the point of the spear as long as I have been in tech and marketing. So
Awesome.
it's been
I
an
love that you're
awesome ride.
current.
Hmm?
Oh, that's good. Good. I
Yeah.
love that you've enjoyed it and you're
Oh,
staying
yeah.
current to let your
Yeah.
clients know that.
Yeah.
I like what you told me that you have a roadmap to revenue, which is how to sell the way your customers want to buy. Because that's so important, because we can have all the things we want to sell, but if we don't know how they want to buy or what they want to buy, it's just going to sit there. And we don't want our jobs or well, I shouldn't really say jobs, because we're pretty much all entrepreneurs, but we don't want our services or our items, whether it's books or anything else, just sitting there. We want it out to the customer. And so what are some thought processes that a company can begin to use to say, I have these products, I have the services, the coaching, whatever it is. I need to get it to the customer. How do I know what they want to buy?
Here's the really amazing revolutionary aspect of what I recommend. Ask them.
Yeah.
And nobody does it. Nobody does it. Everybody thinks, oh, I know my customers. And I've had CEOs of companies say, I don't need to interview my customers because my salespeople are out there all the time talking to customers. And then so I say, okay, when was the last time you told a salesperson what you were really thinking while they were selling to you? And then the
Oh,
CEO goes, oh, okay, you got to talk to customers. Because when we're buying, we're playing poker. We
oh
don't
yeah.
want to tell them what, and if they say something that makes us think, oh man, I'm never going to do business with these people, we don't want to tell them because they'll just try to talk us out of our decision. And
Right.
nobody wants that. Everybody hates arguing with salespeople. So they act very nice. And if you did a personal sales call or if you're on a Zoom call, they'd shake your hand and say, thank you very much. And they'd go out and the salesperson would think, oh, I made a sale. And they'd tell their boss and everything. And the customer would just be going back to the web or AI or whatever, and
Right. Right.
saying, okay, I've met these people. That's not going to work. Uh,
Who else is out
who
there?
else is out there? Exactly. And it's getting easier and easier to find out who else is out
Oh,
there
yes.
because of AI. So
Yeah.
you really you have to put your ego aside, assume you don't know. And the reason I know you don't know is because I've worked with hundreds of companies and interviewed thousands of customers. And this started early on in my career when my husband and I had an ad agency in Silicon Valley. And the company would say, here's everything they care about. And I'd say, what do your customers care about? What do they want? Why did they come to you? And they'd give me a list. And I'd go out and I'd interview the customers, and the list was always different.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Oh, really? Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Oh,
that's
that
when I
is
thought, now some of the
interesting.
items might be in common, but the item that was at the top of the company's list, I don't think I've ever had that item be at the top of the customer's list.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
that's when
pretty
I had this
revolutionary.
big epiphany. And I'm still standing on the stage saying to people, it's easy as pie. You
Right.
just ask them. So in my book, I spell out exactly how you interview them, how you get them on the Zoom meeting. You do a Zoom audio so they're not fussing with video and stuff.
Right.
I give you the questions. It's an open-ended question
Oh,
conversation. It's not a
nice.
survey, because a survey is your assumptions put into question form. You don't learn
Yes.
anything new.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
once you've done that, the benefit is even if you talk to just 5 to 7 people of a given type, you start to see the actual phrases that they have in common. Even though
Oh,
they've never talked to each other, they say the exact same things. Now
right.
you've got bankable information that you can use to build campaigns. And I'll tell you one other big secret about this, not a secret, it's just what I've learned, is the most important thing is the mindset of the customer when they set out to buy. I don't care what demographic they fall into. I don't care. An 18-year-old guy will buy a blender for the same reason that an 80-year-old guy will.
Right.
So that it doesn't matter what their persona is. What matters is what was on their mind when they came to you and tried to buy your specific product, and why did they come to you specifically? It's not the same as your competition.
Right.
And
Right.
and their mindset, this is the last thing, the mindset consists of 3 things. Their desires, what they want,
Right.
their concerns, what they're worried about because they've been burned before, and their questions. You have to jump through the first 2 hoops quickly on your website or social, whatever, and then they're still with you and they'll say, okay, now I have very specific questions.
Right. And I love that you brought that up because we have our websites to showcase everything we do and whatnot, but you really need to do those first two things so they'll want to stay on your website, so they'll keep looking through it. And I know I've had to go through quite a process of learning how to set my website up, and I'm sure there's still lots of room for improvement. But when someone first told me that I looked at your website, but I don't have a clue what you do, I was flabbergasted. It's like, what do you mean? It has everything there. Well, it
Yeah,
did, but it had so much of everything and it was all kind of spread out. It didn't key into this is what I do. This is
yeah.
who I am.
And
And go
also
from
where
there.
they are, right where they are when they come there. You have to meet a meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
When they come to your site, they have to recognize themselves immediately or they just click away.
Right. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with is meeting those minds. It's like, well, I don't have customers, so how am I supposed to know what they want? And, if I have a new product, like for me, I have a new book right now and I know who my customers are. But if I have another book, maybe I have a children's book. Well, I know children are not my customer. I know that the parents, the grandparents, the teachers, those are really my customers. But how do I know the questions that they're asking? How do I know that they want this particular book? And part of that is I have to tell them why they want this book, what's amazing and wonderful about this book compared to all the other hundreds of
Yeah,
children's
but it
books
has
that
to
are
be
out there.
what they want, not what you
Absolutely.
think they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And so that's something
that's a big
that's tough to
question.
do. Yeah.
People ask me the question, what if I don't have existing customers I can interview?
Right.
Okay. And the answer to that is obviously the more customers you have, you can start then interviewing. If you only need 5 or 7, it's really
Right.
easy. But instead, you find people who match the criteria of the buyers. Now, maybe on Facebook, it's grandparents or parents or uncles or aunts or whatever, and they're looking for a birthday present for their niece or nephew or grandchild. And you can start interacting with them and say, I'm coming out with a book. It's aimed at children this age, and it teaches about this. Very quick summary.
Right.
And I'm looking for some feedback from people who might be interested in this book as a gift, let's say. Would you be willing to spend 15 minutes with me on a Zoom audio call, and just keep doing that until you get those 6 or 7 people?
That's
That's
really
not
great
that
advice.
hard. It's
Yeah,
not
no, that's
impossible.
great. Yeah, I mean, I know that's one of the things when I'm in business meetings and networking meetings, and the one thing I hear more often than anybody else is, I don't know where to find my customers. I don't know how to find them. And I thought they were all here because this is where I came from, so why wouldn't they be here? But yeah, when I reach out, it's like ghost town. And and that's can be pretty frustrating to entrepreneurs, even entrepreneurs that have been doing business for a while, but they realize that things are not moving like they used to. Maybe they've just been movers and shakers before, and now all of a sudden they're in this quiet period. So what can we do to boost that up? Now, you mentioned you have a book. Tell me about your book.
The book is called Roadmap to Revenue: How to Sell the Way Your Customers Want to Buy.
Okay,
And
okay.
I give away all my secrets in that book. I want everybody to do this, and I can't interview the world. So I just here's how you get to people and how you talk to them. I mentioned this thing about, finding the customers that you haven't had yet and so on. The first thing I do in the first few chapters is help you realize that your sales success is based on how easy you make it for them to find you and buy from you.
Oh, wow.
You have to think like a buyer. And
Yes.
unfortunately, the minute you become an entrepreneur, and I've been one for a very long time, your seller hat is on. I have
Yes.
to sell this many. I have, you've got pressures and things you're worried about, and you have your assumptions. And those are getting in the way of thinking like a buyer.
Mhm.
So one of the first things I do is say, okay, think of your own buying experiences. If somebody called you after you bought something and said, I just need to understand, how we can improve what we're doing. That's how you don't say, I need you to help me sell. You just say, I'm
Yeah.
looking to make improvements. And I'd like to ask you, a few questions. Usually the for the B2B side of things, the business to business side, the interviews last about a half an hour. But for people that haven't bought from you, they don't have a vested interest in your success.
Right.
So you need to make it shorter. But the people who have bought from you, just like I was saying, if somebody called you and said, "What were you thinking? What were you looking for? How would you describe it? What would you type into a search engine or AI?" Um, and then you ask some other questions that give you some really big hints about the strategy and how they think. So you ask them what trends they see in that area, your area. One of the questions I ask is, if you were the CEO of this company tomorrow, what's the first thing you would focus on or fix? So you learn where your weaknesses are. And at the very end, I say, are there any questions I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? So anything they wanted to emphasize, they'll come back to. Or at the very end, they'll say, there is one other thing. So you really do pick their brain. And by the time you're done, you have this picture of your customer. When I was at Dow Jones turning around a marketing department for them, I had a copywriter. His name is Rob Sims. He's my best example. I was training everybody in the department about this whole way of thinking. And I walked past his cubicle a few days later, after talking about, you need to interview your customers and stuff. And he was just sitting there at his desk, and he was like, I was like, what, Rob, what's going on? I just interviewed this guy named John, and I can't believe I now know who I'm writing to. It was a big explosion, and I'm still in touch with him every so often. We say hi to each other, and he tells me he's still doing that, and it's still made all the difference for him. It
Oh,
will, in fact, change. You'll have power you've never had. And especially if you're a marketer and you're always sort of, people are saying, oh, well, maybe the engineering guy says do this or the finance guy says do that. And you're like, why aren't they listening to me? It's because your job is to know the customer better than anyone else. So
yes.
either you interview them or you hire someone to interview them because sometimes they're a little too polite when it's someone from the company. And then you have this data. And when the finance guy says, well, in our last company, we did this. And you're like, no, 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 no. I just talked to 6 customers this week and none of them would want you to do that.
Okay.
Now you've got
Hey.
power of your convictions.
Yeah. That's just amazing because I don't think we really, we get into the business side of it. It's like I can't think like customer anymore. I have to think like a business person. But then I think we lose something there.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some people who are really great at sales. They could pretty much sell you anything just because of the way they talk and how they work. But I also know that if that's all they're doing, then you pull away from them and you don't answer their calls or anything anymore. So it's you're providing a service to somebody who needs that service that you have.
Yeah.
And yeah, but if you don't know what the customer is wanting and what they're thinking, then it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. How many times have you walked into a car dealer and let's say you're a mom and a suburban mom and you want a really safe car? That's what you want. You got 2 kids in the back seat. You want a really safe car. And you walk in and the guy thinks maybe you're well dressed or something. And thinks maybe you want to be flashy or something. And so
Right.
he starts talking about the engine and the power of the and all of this stuff that doesn't mean anything to you. It has nothing to do with what you want. And you're just bored. I mean, and you're
Yeah.
polite. You stick around for a little while, but basically he's unselling you from buying from him.
Yes. Yes. I like that you said that. He's unselling you because we do that. We do that without even realizing it. And we need to stop.
Yeah, it's not a good way to make money. It's not the roadmap to revenue for sure.
No, no, not at all. Um, so, uh, what size of companies do you normally work with? Do you work with startups? Do you work with those that have been in business for a long time? Those that are doing very well and they just need a boost, or
It's
what is it you look
usually
for?
it's usually a mid-sized company, which is anywhere from 2 million to say 50 or 80 million. Um, I used to do a lot of work with startups. It's hard because the cash flow is an issue. They haven't set
Right.
up their infrastructure yet. There's a lot of politics that when you're forming a company and everything. I enjoy working with entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs. I've come from an entrepreneurial family. I've been with them all my life, and I am one. But it's a little harder. But I wouldn't turn it down if somebody was really interested in making sure they did this correctly
Right.
and we just worked well together. I wouldn't turn down somebody smaller.
Oh, nice. Nice. Now I know that we talked earlier and there's friction in the buying process and you help them remove that. What did you really mean by friction? What does that entail?
Yeah, it's interesting. We're trying to find the right word because nobody goes to a search engine and says, I want to remove my sales stoppers or my friction in the buying process. So we're looking for other ways of describing it. But basically, if you think like a buyer, and how many times have you gone into a site and you've had a simple question? I'm
Right.
buying this thing that has a cabinet cabinet kind of inside, and you can put your computer in there, and it has some plugs or whatever. This was something on Amazon that I bought, and then they allow customers to ask questions. And one of the questions that they gave to me was, how big is it inside where I'm going to put my laptop and the other things?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
manufacturer never answered that question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's
So go on to the next one and find
yeah,
what's going to fit, because if it,
if the friction is there, if it's too hard to check out, or they ask for too much information, they want your age
right.
and your gender when you're just buying, a
Oh
whisk or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Then it's
And
like,
you just
nope,
say,
I
no,
don't
no,
need
no,
this
no.
site.
No, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a million reasons. I'm actually working up a list of the most common sales stoppers. Again, when you think like a buyer, when you just think of your own buying experiences, how many times have you gotten just so far with an e-commerce purchase or even a big, like buying a house or a car or something, and you just said, oh, wait a minute, that's it. I'm not going there. I remember a salesperson once, um, it was years ago. This is when I started really looking at this, back when people bought ads and we were an ad agency. And so the media guy selling the magazine, selling you ad space in the magazine would come. One guy just spent the whole meeting complaining about his management.
Oh wow.
And I was never going to buy from that company because I could tell they were totally dysfunctional. He was ready to
Yeah.
quit and he was unselling me again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one was an interior designer that my husband and I went to. And this is in California. We used to live in Silicon Valley. And all she did was gossip about her customers. This one's getting divorced, and I did this for them, but then they had two kids, and then and I mean, I was kind of nudging my husband under the table, and we looked at each other and just went, "Oh man, how quickly can we get out of here?"
Yeah. Because
So,
what are they going to say about you when they work for you? You don't, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. You want professionalism, not, yeah. Yeah.
So those
No,
are
I agree
major
with that.
sales stoppers, but there's a million of them.
Yeah.
Voicemail, which I helped introduce to the world back in the day when we were promoting technical products. I'm really sorry I did that because at first it was
Right.
just leave a message and it's nice, convenient. But now when you go on there, they give you 18 options, none of which
Oh,
are
I
the one you
know.
want. It's voicemail hell, and nothing you do will work. You can't say press zero for operator or
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. They're forcing the customer to do all this work before they can get a simple question answered. Now,
Absolutely.
that's friction. That
And
is
and I
friction.
just experienced this with the doctor's office. Our granddaughter's staying with us. We need to get her a sports physical. So of course I needed to find her a doctor that did that. And I did. I went through all these questions and I'm like, I don't even know if you do just simple sports physical. That's all we need. We don't need this huge layout for the next 20 years of her life. Just
Yeah.
want to know, do you do a sports physical? And I couldn't get a hold of a person. And it's like there's not a whole lot of choices out here, but it's like, so I went through it, and then you get into the office, and because she's new, they go this question, that question. It's like, how much is it going to cost me? Oh, don't worry about it. The insurance covered. Oh, I don't want to hear that, because I'm old enough. I've heard that before, and it's like, oh, well,
That's the
I guess your
concerns, right?
insurance
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
cover it, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to play that game.
See, they were
It's
selling the way they
frustrating.
wanted to sell,
Yeah.
and it was totally out of sync with the way you wanted to buy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just, yeah, and I understand that, you probably get a million questions, and it costs a lot of money to have somebody there just answer the same questions all the time. But at some point, you've got to be human with people and get away from the machines and just be human with
Yeah,
it.
I'm really of the opinion that we've one of the biggest sales stoppers is that we have put too much machinery between us and the customer.
Right, right.
Instead of just, I mean, gee, back to the days when there was some nice old lady answering the phone and you ask a question and she goes, you need to talk to John. Hang on a second. I think
Yeah,
he's just about to get off the call. And you're like, oh, finally somebody, hears me and knows what I want. That's
yeah.
missing. It's so missing now. It's disgusting.
It is. Well, and I think a lot of our world is very disconnected. Even though we have more ways to be connected together as human beings, we
Yeah.
are so much more disconnected than ever before. I enjoyed the time when I could call my daughter and speak to any of the grandkids that opened up, that answered the phone, opened up the phone, that answered the phone. You can't do that. It's everybody, each child has their own cell phone. The parents each have their own cell phone. And you can't just call and talk to everybody unless you call the right cell phone. And yeah, here you can talk to this
Yeah.
one. And uh, and even for my own house, I would love to just have a phone in my house that the cell phone doesn't have to rely on, that I can just pick up and call. Um, yeah. We moved to this house, and the phone company, I won't say any names, but they go, we don't create new services. If there's already an established working phone in the house, we'll service that, but we don't allow any new services. And it's like, how sad, especially when you live out in the country a little bit. You want that extra added there, because if cell towers go down, which
Yeah, it's
sometimes they
plan
do with
B. It's a
storms.
good plan B, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the conveniences that we had are not convenient anymore. It's frustrating. Um, and I see with AI coming in that a lot of that personal attention is gone to. Even though AI is great, it's a great tool. And when we forget that it's a tool and we make it the main focus, I think maybe that hurts us. I don't know. We're finding out. I know when I'm talking and or texting, I'm on a website and I'm getting the questions and here, let me get someone to help you. Well, it's not someone, it's something, and that something is not answering my questions. And I realize you're AI. You're not a real person, because a real person would know that I can choose between blue and gold. And it's
I agree. I
it's
agree.
fun.
It's hard to get AI be exactly what customers actually need. And I think it's a mistake that companies are making where they pretend that the AI is a real person.
Yeah,
Because you feel cheated after that. You feel like, oh,
you
well, they
do.
didn't care enough to pick up the phone and just answer my
Well, you
questions.
lose trust too.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
definitely.
like, I was talking with a friend of mine who uses AI for everything, just amazing. Answers all the questions, it learns from you, it does this, we've got AI that clones you and all of this. And it works great for them, but is it going to be that great 2 years from now?
Oh,
I'm
it
just
might be something completely different 2 years from
Yeah,
now. Look at how
I'm just
quickly AI
wondering
is
what's
changing.
going to happen, and we have all these things that come in right away, and they build on each other, but it's like, where do you bring in the humanity to it? And
I think
and
there's
what
going to be a
what's
backlash. I think
that?
there's a backlash already.
Yeah,
I think so many customers are frustrated. The
yeah,
sellers don't realize how frustrated buyers are. And
yes,
buyers don't really complain about it a lot. They just leave.
yeah,
They,
yep,
they don't they don't want to bother. If somebody's made them angry or frustrated them, they don't like um, take the time to say, I was on your site and man, this was really frustrating. No, you just leave.
yep,
So
yep,
you don't even know
and-
unless you ask them when you call them and say, well, how easy was it to buy from us? And they say, well, it was okay until I got to this part. And then I was like, wait, why are you asking me all these questions? You don't need to know
yeah,
how old I am or what gender I am to sell me this,
yeah. And
And
it's like,
and
I
marketers
understand you're
have
doing a survey for your marketing team, but
exactly. I was just going
I
to
don't
say
want to
that.
be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't ask me for more information than you deserve to get.
yeah. At least, get to know me first,
Yeah.
see what's going on. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's tough. Um, so gosh, you've answered so many great questions and had even more amazing answers. Um,
Let me tell you something that we're doing now that's a little
okay,
different. What I did before
good.
as a revenue coach is I always interviewed customers. And then I would go back to management and say, here's what they care about, and here's what you should do, and here's my recommendations and everything. What we're doing now is we're using, we're expanding the number of people that we talk to because, not the number, the types. Well, let me just say, in addition to customers, I'm also interviewing internal people, workers, managers, partners,
Okay,
people who are familiar with the business from the inside. And I'm saying to them, I'm trying to find and fix and remove the sales stoppers where people get hung up.
Okay.
And so they start talking about that, and they tell me things that are um, mostly it's processes and software. Those are the two areas that
Oh,
really
wow.
just, it's either that or the biggest one is if the CEO is a jerk. If the CEO is a jerk, I can't even help him because he doesn't care about
Right.
the
Right.
customers or the workers or the partners. So we avoid jerks. But yeah, but the people who are trying hard and they're just missing the mark, they often don't know they have these problems because the workers are just like the customers. They don't want to complain. They don't want to be the snitch. They just put up with it, put their heads down, and this is the way we've always done it, so that's what we'll do. And they're afraid to speak up. So
Right.
we give them a way to speak up. It's all anonymous. I take all the references and anything that would identify them. I record it. I tell them up front I'm recording because I can't type as fast as they talk.
Right.
But I also anonymize it. So I don't just say, here's what Bob said. I take
Right.
Bob's conversation, break it up into clumps, and put
Okay.
those clumps in. Here are all the answers to this question. And so each person gets a little section, and if they talk long, they get a longer section. But that's how then the managers of the company get in their minds the reality. They see
There you go.
everywhere what people say, and then they say, oh, geez, the biggest problem is this. Everybody said that. So now we're talking about legacy systems. We're talking about non-integration between a CRM, customer relationship management tool, and an ERP tool. And so all of your inventory and everything. There's some really big problems in there that people take all that data, they turn it into a spreadsheet because otherwise the other guys can't get. It's all happening in the background, and the CEOs don't even know that
Right.
this is a problem. And it keeps the workers and the partners from actually selling easily, having conversations with customers, being able to answer their questions, and so on. So we bring in other types of companies that do a lot of IT stuff and everything. Even though I have IT people on staff, I like to have enough resources so they can say, okay, these people understand Salesforce and they understand integration with this other thing, and so we'll get rid of all those processes that are slowing down the sale.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
what we're doing
Really
now.
great.
And
Yeah.
then after that, once that's done, then we bring new leads into, because that's what we always did as an agency, we bring new leads in to the new streamlined buying process. So you're
Wow.
not wasting good leads on a bad selling process.
Right. Right. Yeah, because if you've got new leads coming in, but you're not getting anything from it, what good has that been doing for you? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, you're
Nothing
spending
at
money for
all.
nothing. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say 80% of all marketing dollars that are spent in the world are wasted because nobody does this. They're so
Yeah.
busy building personas and asking AI to stalk their users and stuff, but they never get that moment, that mindset. Here's why I'm buying this. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm worried about. Here are all my questions. That's what you need to know.
Yeah. That's really great. Yeah, because if you can answer those basic needs of the customer, you know, what is it? Yeah, and some people say sometimes customers don't even know what they're looking for. Well, they
No,
know
no, they
they're
don't.
coming
They
to
all
you
say,
for
they always say
something.
that.
Yeah,
No, no.
yeah.
One of
It's
the best things I read once was about, I always thought Steve Jobs was interesting because he seemed to understand what customers wanted. And he knew it when he saw it, and he kept browbeating his people. I didn't like that part, but he beat his people to get them to do it. And then I finally understood what his secret was. Every
okay.
day he would spend, not maybe every day, but pretty often, he would spend the morning in an Apple store
Oh,
and listening
smart.
and asking questions and that sort of thing. And then he would go back to his company and say, they don't want that. They want this. They want 1,000 songs in their pocket.
Yeah,
There goes what was it? I can't remember. Oh, the Walkman. He put the
yep.
Walkman out of business in 2 minutes. They were never first to a market, but they were always really good. And they knew what customers wanted.
That's that's so important. I know, a lot of times we're being told, if your stuff is not selling, go take a poll, go see what people want, ask the right questions. And sometimes it's difficult to do that. Sometimes it's difficult to know where to look, how to ask. And I love it that that's where you come in. You come in to help people know the questions, to know where the people are, to find the solutions. And it's like, what am I missing here? I'm doing really good, but I want to do fabulous. I got sales, covered all my debts, able to take a little vacation, but I don't want to have the worry that what if I don't get the sales this month? And then what do I do? And how do I really reach the people to give them what they want? That was something with my book coming out, Baxter's Heart, is I wrote this book with this in mind. And that's where I thought the book would go. But when I had my beta readers read it, which, they're the people who read the book ahead of time and tell me their thoughts on it, that book took a whole new character all on its own.
Mm.
And it's like, if I don't tap into that, my book's just going to sell a few on Amazon and that's it. And that's not what I wanted for this book. I wanted this to reach the hearts of children who are grieving over the loss of a pet. And now I find out I need to reach the hearts of adults who are grieving over the loss of a pet. And it turns out that the way I presented it, which I didn't even realize I was doing when I wrote it, that it actually helps with grief with family members. Maybe this is the first time a child has lost someone, maybe a grandparent, a favorite uncle or aunt, or there's a friend that went, and it's like, how do you talk to people, to kids about death? I mean, we don't talk about death as a family. So how are we supposed to talk about it when it actually happens? And here's a nice, gentle, comforting way to do that. But if I didn't trust my beta readers, if I didn't put it out there to see what other people say, I would have gone a whole different direction and it would have just sat on the shelf. Now I know what to do with it. I know where it can go to be the best use. And gosh, I wish I had met you a couple of years ago when I was learning how to run a business, because that would have
Well,
been
you
great
brought up a
too.
really
But yeah,
interesting point that I've never really articulated before, thought of, which is if you're a developer, and I don't mean just a programmer, I mean,
right.
someone who's created something. Oftentimes, the reason that you did it is actually different from the reason that they want it.
Yeah.
And you can't find that out in your own head. You just can't.
Because
And
you're
you
the one who
can't assume
created
it.
it. Yeah.
You're the creator, and the creator is very different from the absorber or the recipient.
Yeah.
And that, again, this is what this is all about. This is uniting those two audiences, so to speak, or two groups. I recently wrote an article that I've never written anything like this before. It was uh, it, it was sort of like out with capitalism because it's gotten so corrupt and crony and all that, and out with communism because it doesn't work. And what's really happening now, and it's here, but we've all been ignoring it, is something that I would call connectionism.
Okay.
We're living in an economy built on connections.
Right.
And not like the old boy network kind of connections and, the snooty people and all that. But I'm talking about LinkedIn and Facebook and all those places where we connect with people who have similar interests.
Right.
And if you can align your pitch with the mindset of the customer when they set out to buy, that is a revenue generating connection.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And
But
that
you have
really
to be
is
in
the key
sync. If
right
you're not in
there.
sync,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
say, you
Because
were saying something, but
yeah, if you've got canoes that you're selling, you don't want to be in a place where people are wanting rock climbing
powerboats.
equipment. Yeah,
Or
powerboats.
powerboats.
Yeah.
I'm a
It's
boating
that's
person. That's a good
not going to do
analogy.
much there.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, that's wonderful. So, how do people get a hold of you? How do businesses get a hold of you, entrepreneurs, to do more with their own business to reach those customers that they need to?
Our website is zhivagopartners.com. You can Google me or AI me, and I will come up at the top. I've been around a long time, and I've written a lot of stuff, so I'm out there. And my book is only on Amazon, but it's 5 stars. And even though I actually published it in 2011, and you would think it would be out of date by now, but I'd been in tech for years, and I knew how to write the book, so it wouldn't be out of date. And it hasn't been out of date. The only thing that's changed in there is that when you interview them, you don't just do it by telephone.
Right.
You do it in a Zoom audio meeting so that anybody can come in, LinkedIn, or link into the meeting. But that was the only thing. I had it an audio version made, and so I went through the whole book again and kept asking myself, is this still valid? And it is.
Good.
I will tell you that I'm trying to work on my next book. I'm making progress, but I have to get back to it. It's called Love, Leverage, and Logistics: How You and Your Company Can Change the World.
I like that.
I think I'm going to make it a living book where the love and leverage part is not going to change that much over time. But the logistics part is going to change with AI and everything. So I'm definitely experimenting with the idea of having it be an Amazon living book where I go in and change it as I need to, and then they print out the latest copy.
Oh, that's really great. I actually hadn't heard of that before. That's a really good thing to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Well, there you go. Get a hold of Kristen so you can really reach your buyers and see what they need. And thank you for being on my show. Thank you, our audience, for sitting on the front porch, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, my front porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.